they're gone. They're gone. I was up a few weeks ago. You can't find one now. There's not one. And they've killed them all with the poison. And that's what they're doing here. Okay, that's what they're furthering is this bullshit right here. Okay, they're allowing, they're trading off for corporate profit our natural resources, and it's disgusting. Alrighty, welcome in. It's your favorite political podcast. It's Alabama Politics This Week with Josh Moon and
David Person.
How are you, David?
I'm good, man. I'm good. It's another beautiful day here in North Alabama, so to speak.
It's a little overcast, but at least the temperature's up like that.
Yeah.
We're not freezing to death, although apparently it's going to get cold again this weekend. Maybe not deathly cold, but colder. So not looking forward to that at all. I'm enjoying the temps. Got out, got some running in yesterday, and so it's it's going towards my kind of weather. You know, if we can add another 20, 30 degrees onto this thing, we'll be okay. We'll be up in those 90s where I like it.
I don't know about all that.
Hey, before we get rolling here, we got a good show. We've got Michael West coming on from the SPLC to talk about some garbage situations and some other injustices that are taking place around the state. Well, before we get into that, let's tell you about our friends over at Wind Creek Entertainment who sponsor this. It is Alabama Politics This Week, brought to you by Wind Creek Entertainment, and we really appreciate them for what they do for us and supporting the show and keeping us rolling here. They are great. They're a fantastic group of folks, and they operate 3 resorts in this state in Wetumpka, Atmore, and Montgomery. You should go check them out at one of those places there. Book a stay. It's not too late to make up for the Valentine's Day that you screwed up last week. Go ahead, call down, book a stay, tell them you're coming down, you're going to the spa, you're going to the restaurants, hang out for the weekend. Everybody leaves happy. Everybody has fun. You can even, if need be, you can even take the kids with you at the folks to the place down in Atmore, because they've got a great place down there with a bowling alley. They've got the kids arcades. They've got the whole resort situation taken care of. Just go and check it out. I'm telling you, you're not going to be disappointed in this. You're not going to be disappointed. And if you're starting to make those spring break plans and you're heading down to the beach, break up the trip. How many times I got to tell y'all this? Break up the trip. Have a good time. Get down to the beach a little earlier and stay a night down at Atmore. It's a fantastic place to stay. Look them up online.
It is.
It's Wind Creek Entertainment online. Look them up. Book a stay. You will not regret it. I guarantee it. So,
very true.
All right. Let's start off with the most important news of the week, and that is the passing of Jesse Jackson. And I know that Reverend Jackson has been out of the news cycles a lot for the last few years. I know he's battled some health problems. He's not been as active. Of course, he's in his 80s, or was in his 80s, and was not doing as much. But I could argue with you that there is no more important political figure in the last 40 years than Jesse Jackson, and his impact directly led to our first African-American president.
No question that it led to that.
I think that is true. I think I got to know Jesse Jackson late in life, just a few years ago, when I was working at the Montgomery Advertiser, and he came through. I want to say that it was around events for the Selma to Montgomery March is what prompted the visit at that point, and we started talking. He would come to visit with the editorial board at the Advertiser, and I was part of those conversations. And I don't remember what I said to him, but it was something that he found to be rather humorous. And then we joked for a little while longer. And from that, kind of, I wouldn't call it necessarily a friendship, but, a casual acquaintance, I would say was definite. And from time to time when he would come through, he would call. And he or somebody on his team would call and say, hey, the Reverend would like to meet with you. And I would go and meet with him, or, talk to him about whatever he had going on, whatever issues were coming up, and, and things he had going on in the state. And he was such a, he was such a good guy, and he was always focused on continuing the civil rights issues, continuing that civil rights push and making sure as best as he could that this never fell backwards. And was always warning about how fragile it could be and how, and you got to say, I think a lot of people dismissed that talk for a long time and made him out to be this the guy crying wolf, and, just to keep his name viable. But I think we can all agree now, us on this side of things, that he was right about this, that it is fragile, that it is something that can be, the regression is real, and that if you don't stay vigilant, that they can start to pull it back really quickly. And I think that has proven out over the last few years. And, I hated that he passed away, but what a hell of a life he lived.
No question. I grew up in Chicago on the South Side, and I have very clear memories of driving past Operation Push, as it was known back then, and of course periodically seeing images of the Reverend Jesse Jackson in Chicago publications with that iconic afro. And back in those days in the 70s, he might have a medallion on and maybe a dashiki top or something. But then, fast forward 30 or so years later, I was sitting in a meeting with a group of black columnists from around the country, newspaper columnists from around the country, and we were having a private interview, a collective interview with the Reverend Jesse Jackson. This was, I think it was in Milwaukee at the National Association of Black Journalists Convention, annual convention. And the room was crowded and sort of small. And I remember that the seat that I found was behind him. So for, most of that hour or so that we were with him, all I saw was the back of his head. Yeah. But I could still sense there was a certain kind of potency that he emanated, just charisma, intelligence, passion, humor, and he was just, he was a larger than life figure to me in that room. I didn't know him. That was my one encounter with him. Others in the room literally knew him as a friend and as well as a newsmaker. And so I think they had a much different perspective of him. But I was impressed nonetheless. And it was, I guess the last time I saw him in life was at Brian Stevenson's grand opening for the Slavery Museum and the Lynching Memorial. He had a big, I don't know what you'd call it. I'll just call it a gala type event. And there were all these luminaries there, and Patti LaBelle performed and some other people, but Jesse Jackson was there. And you could see even then that Parkinson's was beginning to have an impact on him, because he just, that commanding presence that I'd seen at that NABJ interview, it was diminished. It was beginning to be diminished, and that was kind of sobering to see that. It hadn't taken firm hold, but you could start to see that there was something going on with him. And so it's been interesting. He's been a controversial figure. He's been an inspiring figure, but what a life he's led. And like you said, he paved the way for Barack Obama. He paved the way for, I think, modern, post-civil rights, social justice activism, especially when it came to economics. He was very focused on that, and that paved the way for the Reverend Al Sharpton and I think many others. So God bless his legacy. And he's got one son in Congress and another one that's trying to return to Congress. So, that legacy, I guess, will live on, through those young men.
Yeah, it will. He was, he just, like I said, it was a little more than a decade ago now that I got to to meet him and to know him, and you're right, he just he filled up a room when he came in, and he was very kind to everybody and very engaging and very he still had that ability to kind of control things, when he started talking, you listened. And I mean, when he was in his prime, he was every bit the good the orator that Obama is today, and he carried that, he could carry a room, man, and or an arena for that matter, and he was, it was just something,
I just
Yes.
remembered something. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
When he was running for president,
Mm-hmm.
he actually, I happened to be a student at Oakwood University. This was the 84 race. He came to Oakwood and spoke at Oakwood.
Oh,
I forgot
really?
about that. He did.
Huh.
He sure did, yeah. In the yearbook from that year, we have there's a picture that captures that and documents it. Yeah, he sure did. He came to Huntsville
Nice.
and spoke at
Nice.
Oakwood during that time. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's he made the rounds, and it was he was a really good guy, and he fought a good fight for a long time, and I think a lot of people are better off for him being around, and that's one hell of a legacy, and to have been there in Memphis, and then taking up the torch after Dr. King, and that was a heavy burden, and I think he carried it well, and did as well as you could have hoped for somebody to do, to try to pick up the pieces and move on from that, and I feel like that's I hope he gets the credit he deserves. I'll say this, it was nice to see that our current president had nice, kind words to say about Jesse Jackson,
And I thought about that. What was your take on that?
I think, honestly, I think Trump is kind of like your average Republican, where if it's somebody who's standing in front of them talking to them, they have a different feeling about it than if they're doing it from afar, and they can't imagine. Their tendency is to hate anyone who criticizes things from afar. But if they get up into that person's space and have a conversation with them, they tend to come away feeling differently about them. And I think that's what happened with Trump. He met Jesse Jackson. I mean, first of all, let's be honest. For most of his life, Trump was the biggest liberal Democrat that you could possibly have roaming the planet. And so,
Right.
I think he was proud at that time to have given Jackson and his group, the Rainbow Coalition, the office space in Trump Towers. I think it was something that he took pride in, and that he told his group of friends about, and that's something that helped him with his status around New York City. And so I think that was all. Those were all things that were good at that time for him. And now, he knows him. He talked to him, and I think that's where it came from. I think he's just your average old Republican at this point.
I'm going to add something to that. I think everything you said is right, but I'm going to add some things. I think, first of all, to my knowledge, I'm not aware of Jesse Jackson ever publicly criticizing Trump. And I think that had a lot to do with it. Also, I think Trump is enamored with celebrity. Mm-hmm. And Jesse Jackson had celebrity and plenty to spare, whether you agreed with him or disagreed with him. And I think that those two things were alluring to Trump. And I think that's why he was, he was quick to weigh in a very positive way. And I think also he saw it as a way to even cast some shade on Obama by saying that, Jackson paved the way for Obama. I think he looks for any opportunity that he can to try to diminish Obama's personal achievements. And I think he saw this as a way to do that.
Oh yeah. There's no doubt about that. He definitely, he definitely loves to do this. Speaking of Obama, did you see the interview where he talked about the aliens?
Where he talked about the
aliens. He did an
no.
interview. It was a podcast interview with Brian Cohen, I think is his name.
Brian Tyler Cohen. Yeah.
Brian Tyler Cohen. Yeah. And he asked him whether or not there are aliens. He's president, and he was just saying, are there aliens? And Obama said, yeah. But we're not hiding them, and they're not being kept at Area 51 there's no underground bunker, or if there is, they didn't tell the president about it. But his emphatic, yeah, they're aliens. And I mean, caught everybody, I think, by surprise. And so then he had to come back out like a couple of days later and say like, hey, look, all I meant is that it's so vast out there in the various galaxies that there has to be life somewhere. But we have not made contact yet. But yeah, I think there are aliens. But it was just pretty funny that he was just like, yeah, I think so. And everybody was like lost their minds. Like, what? There's aliens. Speaking of aliens, there's also some in our legislature because we're going to ban chemtrails. We're going to get it. We're going to get that taken care of, David. I know that's been something that's bugging you, been bugging you for a long time. These chemtrails.
Just a burden on my heart, man.
Well, they caused the flooding at Camp Mystic, where the children were killed in Texas. I heard that from from the folks who spoke in favor of this bill that was advanced out of committee, gave a favorable report out of committee, and was, man.
No science, right? No science at all to back any of this.
Science. I don't got no time for science. You kidding? We just go by feel. We're just going by feel, David. All right.
Is this a QAnon conspiracy? Is that what this is? Is that part of it?
Man, I'll be honest with you. I don't know where a lot of this comes from. And let me tell you what really troubles me the most is that when you have like this, I read by the way, if you'd like to hear more about this fantastic bill or read more about it, you can go to APR and read Jacob Holmes' story because he had the misfortune of covering this thing for us. But I read it and that, what struck me in there is these people who know these little intricate details of chemtrails and things like that. And what I don't understand is how these people know this stuff, but they miss just basic stuff. They can't tell you who their city councilman is, but they can tell you about the chemtrails, and this, it's kind of like the Hunter Biden laptop thing, where you would have somebody that couldn't name 5 people in Congress, but they could tell you what was on Hunter Biden's laptop,
Right.
And how can we funnel those people into sanity? Instead of this craziness, how can we funnel them out of the chemtrail rabbit hole that they're in and into a rabbit hole that tells them about how wealth distribution is actually crushing them, and not the transgender or story time with the drag queens. How can we? I don't understand how we can refocus them because this is ridiculous.
Well, I think they're hung up on. Well, I think they're conspiracy-oriented people, and they feel like, I guess, any disruption of the world as they see it, I think lends them to thinking, about life in just some really crazy ways, and I think they look for things that are suspicious. They look for connections that validate that worldview. And it's, look, if people want to believe in chemtrails, that's fine. I mean, that doesn't hurt anybody. But the fact that we are wasting time in the Alabama legislature, with something that's based on conjecture, speculation, and a lack of information, with the people's money and people's resources, it's shameful. And that's what we should be, I think, even more than just embracing the belief, just the colossal waste of time and resources that this represents.
Yeah, because there are serious problems that we have out there.
Yes.
There are. I mean, look around. I mean, look at what's going on everywhere. And along those same lines, we're talking about this. There have been these other bills that have been passed. The Republicans are in a tizzy right now with themselves in this state over a variety of bills. We had the PSC bill that is, as best as I can tell, is dead now because of the poor way they handled that in trying to keep us from voting for the PSC, which I've argued is, probably honestly that probably benefits the power company more than anything is for us to keep voting on it without any restrictions on who can actually run for the office. But regardless, there are also these other things that are going on right now. There was a bill, man. There was a bill that they have passed. Now it's passed. It's going to the governor's desk where it limits our Alabama Department of Environmental Management from implementing stronger environmental rules than what the feds impose. So if we run across a problem specific to Alabama, we can't impose a stricter rule to stop it unless the feds do so first. But now that goes for everything. We're going to follow the Fed's guidance on everything except for their regulation of water purity. And when it comes to those forever chemicals, because come on, what do the feds know about that? Because that has cost some companies in this state billions of dollars. 3M specifically has had to pay out a bunch of money to these cities around here, Decatur being one of them. I mentioned in the column that I wrote about this. Every year when I was growing up, around late March or so, we would go. My grandparents had a place on the lake up in Rogersville. So in a little place that's called Anderson Creek back in there. And we would go up and we would start kind of the cleanup. It was a summer place, so we would start the kind of cleanup for that. But at that same time, I would get in a flat bottom green boat with my granddaddy. And we would go, we had a bucket of minnows and some casting rods, and we would go out and catch crappie. And for the next few weeks, as we would go up every weekend, over the next few weeks, we would catch enough crappie that we could he would clean them, we'd freeze them up, and we'd have enough for a fish fry for most weekends through the summer. And we used to do that all the time. Let me tell you something. My grandmother could cook up some fish. All right. And I loved it. It was part of my childhood, and I can't do that anymore. The state of Alabama, the Department of Environmental Management tells me not to do that anymore, not to eat more than 2 fish out of Anderson Creek because of high levels of some toxins that are in those fish now. I can't do it. I can't. You're not supposed to eat bass. You're not supposed. I mean, look, they put this list out every year, and it's all over the state. It's all over everywhere. And I've also told the story before, I think, on here about what my grandparents did for a living. They owned an export business in which they exported mussel shells to Japan for the production of cultured pearls. So we would buy the shells from shell divers that dove in these rivers around here and in southern Tennessee, and all the way down to Montgomery. We would get some from the Alabama River as well in Montgomery. And they would take those shells and we would bag them up, 200-pound sacks, load up 22 tons in a big container, and they would ship them to Japan, to Kobe, Japan. And over in Japan, they would slice them up and they would plant them in an oyster, and the oyster would coat the little pellet from the shell and would create a cultured pearl. Every cultured pearl for a lot of years originated from a mussel shell that came through our place. Okay.
Wow.
And you used to, when TVA would draw the water down, in the winter months, you could walk along the shore and you could just see hundreds, thousands of shells, these freshwater mussels in the mud. They're gone. They're gone. I was up a few weeks ago. You can't find one now. There's not one. And they've killed them all with the poison. And that's what they're doing here. Okay. That's what they're furthering, is this bullshit right here. Okay. They're allowing, they're trading off for corporate profit our natural resources. And it's disgusting. It is. I don't know what else to say about it.
Sure. Well, I mean, I hate to say it, but that seems to be what we do in this state, whether you're talking about what you just described or what we've been talking about that's happening in Lowndes County, or even further south, 8 Mile there, in the Pritchard area.
Yeah,
we're always putting profits and corporate interest above the health and well-being of the citizens. And the government, and the thing that's very disturbing is that it's the government entities, government agencies that are enabling this, enabling this disruption of the environment and creating this horrible situation where the health and well-being of our people are being jeopardized.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. I don't know, man. Of all the things, I'll say that of the last thing here, we'll get out and get Micah in here. But of all the things that we do, this sort of thing is the thing that's the most befuddling to me. All right. It really is. It's the, I can, to a certain degree, I don't okay it, and I'm not telling you that it's all right, but I understand the greed that goes into a lot of things that we do, and I understand the villainizing certain groups of people, but based on greed, to try to, further whatever tax breaks or whatever you're looking for. I can understand that, but we have so many people here that hunt and fish and talk about it endlessly. And they have places on the water, and they have boats, and they have, and they go hunting and spend their lives out in these places. And to watch them pass things that destroy that is, I don't understand. You would seem like, because it flies in the face of everything that I say about the Republicans, which is it's got to be something that affects them personally for them to realize the impact that they're having on it. And this affects them personally, and they still don't realize it. And I don't understand that. I don't get it, man.
It's a disconnect. It's a disconnect. Yeah.
All right, let's slide out and see if we can get Micah to come in and help us connect with some sort of reality or something. All right, we're going to slide out. We're back in a minute. It's Alabama Politics This Week, brought to you by Wind Creek Entertainment.